Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is bright and early. Not terribly bright and early at this point anymore, I suppose, for me anyway. It's about quarter after 11. I get up about 2 hours ago. But hey, it's time for another freaking Quest to Fitness vlog. What up? So, yesterday was day numero uno. I hit up that gym like a champion. And I did exactly what I said I was going to do. I did all my pulling exercises for waking up all of my pulling muscles. So that ended up being, like I said, got some pull-ups, palms facing, chin-ups, whatever you want to call them. Pretty much everything I did yesterday was in was two sets. When I personally go back to the gym after being out for a while, if I do 3 sets, it ends up exhausting my muscles too much, and I end up too sore to go back to the gym the next day or even 2 days later. By the way, the second day is always the worst for those of you just starting your journey. The day after the gym, you might be a little sore. Second day, that's when you're likely to feel it the most. But so I tend to just hold it back to 2 sets, and just pay very close attention to your body, right? Now that's an easier thing to say if you're used to going to the gym, because people who go to the gym, after a while, they get to know what their body is telling them. In general, you'll actually start to feel not your muscles cramping up, but they'll and they won't get tight. It'll kind of be the opposite feeling. They'll feel very kind of loose, but they also won't want to extend to their full range of motion. So if you were doing bicep curls, and your arm, when it hangs by your side, will usually like go to about here, something of that nature. Paying attention to that kind of stuff is what will let you know that you're getting too close to overworking early on. Once you've been in the gym for a while and you do that kind of stuff, it's whatever. You're there to tear some muscle up and get bigger and stronger. But in the beginning, you want to stay a little loose. You're just there to open up everything, right? So did my chin-ups and my lat pull-down machine and my rowing machine, and did abs yesterday as well. And 10 minutes of some relatively high intensity cardio on a elliptical machine. I like the elliptical machine. It's easier on my knees. It does not exhaust me as fast as a treadmill does. For obvious reasons, being on the treadmill, you're physically, like, when you're running, you're half jumping, right? You don't necessarily do that on the elliptical, so it's not necessarily as strenuous. I tend to turn mine up. I don't know if all ellipticals are the same in terms of difficulty levels when you can turn up the resistance. I tend to go at around 5.5 in terms of the resistance. Any more than that, and I feel like I'm overworking my legs when I'm likely going to be using them later on in the workout. Any less than that, and it feels too easy for me. So I found that for myself to be a nice happy medium. Just do that for 10 minutes. I tend to go on and do cardio if I'm not doing a cardio day, which, to be honest, I haven't done cardio days since I've played basketball. But when I tend to do cardio before a workout, it's usually 10 to 15 minutes of ramped up and then relatively decent intensity elliptical work, just to warm my body up. You want to, like, my goal is, when I do stuff, cardio and stretching and stuff right before a workout, is I want to get right to that brink. That feeling that you get, that kind of tingle right before you start sweating? That's kind of where I want to be. I want to get right to that brink of sweating. That tells me, in general, that I'm now warmed up. My body is now warmed up, and I can start my exercises, or maybe a little deeper stretches and stuff of that nature. Today is going to be about the pushing muscles today. So I'm going to be doing presses of some kind for my chest. Whether or not the gym I'm currently in only has a Smith machine, which is unfortunate for range of motion, stabilizer muscles, and a whole bunch of other whack of stuff. So when I go into a gym, when I get my new gym membership somewhere else later in the year, it's going to take me some time to rebuild my bench, because I'm not going to be used to using an Olympic bar. So if you are also in a gym, for instance, that has a Smith machine, or maybe you're at home and you have a Smith machine, some people might have that. Perhaps the better thing to do for you is to maybe just use dumbbells instead, and just do dumbbell pressing. Maintain your range of motion until you get the opportunity to use an Olympic bar for your pressing. And that's totally, some people don't care. The thing about the Smith machine is that it locks you into a very strict range of motion, just like pretty much any machine in the gym. Bodybuilders tend to use machines a lot because they're not looking for functional muscle. They're just looking to get a huge pump on and get ripped, right? They just want to be huge. They want to be Arnold Schwarzenegger and bigger, of course. Ronnie Coleman, lightweight. But that's not necessarily what I'm looking for. I don't want to have all this muscle, but then go over to bend up and pick up the newspaper and throw my back out, right? Like I want to have, and that's an extreme example, but I want to have that functional muscle. So I like to have range of motion in my exercises. I still use a Smith machine for things. I still use some machines for maybe legs and stuff like that. If I'm really trying to grow my legs instead of just doing squats or something of that nature, but in general, I try to avoid them, and you don't have to. It's all dependent on what kind of goals you're looking for. Now, some of you were asking, what I'm eating. I've had people on here tell me they're nutritionists, and that's awesome. If you can offer help to people in the comments section as well, then that's great. I'm not an expert. I just know what works for me in general, and I've been in and out of the gym, regardless of what I look like now. I've been in and out of the gym and around people who are incredibly well educated on all this stuff for a long time, and so I just take what I know from them and apply it to myself as best I can. So for food and whatnot, before I work out, I tend to just rely mostly on carby stuff. Now, every morning when I get up, I drink a full glass of water anyway. Not quite that big, but because I don't use this mug, but maybe about that much water right out of the gate. As soon as I wake up, get that water into me. That helps wake up my digestive system and wake me up as well in general. I also tend to go for a nice little cup of yogurt. This is probiotic yogurt, which I like. Every yogurt on the planet apparently at this point is pushing that crap, which is great. And it's not the end of the world, but the truth about probiotics, just as a little sidetrack, is that this little cup is not going to give you enough probiotics in one hit to actually do anything spectacular for you. Might make a minute difference, but in the grand scheme of things, you need to have like 5 million of these little cultural buddies, or at least 3 million, I think some people are saying, before you're really going to get much out of it. And I think most yogurts are around 1 million. Anyway. This is my lactose-free yogurt that I get to have yummy in my tummy first thing in the morning. I find yogurt is also a great digestive aid, because it is. So I have those two things first. Then I get into whatever I'm going to have. Now, if I'm going to the gym, I tend to stay with carbs. So I either have oatmeal or I have like a really hearty cereal. Vector is the cereal of my choice if I'm just going to have cereal. And that's just to give me energy. Carbs are your energy, right? You don't necessarily need to have a whack of protein before you go to the gym. It's not going to accomplish that much for you. Carbs is what's going to fuel you to get you up and going. Some people, again, bodybuilders, stuff like that, will mix in egg whites and whatnot with their oatmeal in the morning, and I don't know, like chew on some nails and shit too, because they're tough bastards. I just go for some carbs. Now, I also mix in fruit of some kind as well, generally speaking. So, especially if I'm having oatmeal, to get extra than just carbs. So, banana, which I haven't eaten mine yet. I'm going to eat mine soon, right before you go to the gym. Not a half bad idea. Good energy in that. Potassium helps you your muscles not cramp up. Pro tip: if you're prone to cramping, even regardless of whether or not you're working out, potassium, you might be low in that category, or it could just help you with that. So bananas always been, lots of people that play sports, they'll be able to tell you that while they have no idea why bananas are just good, well, there's all sorts of sciencey reasons for that, and you can look that up if you want. But banana's not half bad. So I like to mix in banana with my oatmeal. Sometimes I'll have dried cranberries in there as well for sugar. You give me a sugar boost. To give me some extra energy, some of that sugar. Beyond that, it is what it is. Sometimes I take a multivitamin every once in a while. Sometimes I don't. I have acidophilus as a probiotic, but that's just my digestive system, right? I was kind of lacking that kind of thing. I have a very temperamental digestive system. I always have. And that helps with that. So I use acidophilus. Beyond that, my general diet includes relatively healthy stuff. I don't really diet. I hate calling it a diet. I've always just eaten relatively healthy to begin with. I don't eat a lot of junk. Now I also don't sit down and say, all right, I need my weight in protein every day to bulk up, and I need this many grams of fat, and I need, I'm not one of those people. Some people need that. Some people want that. I'm neither of those people. I feed my body with what my body wants or needs at the time, which does not mean fall victim to, I could really go for some ice cream right now. But another thing that you will learn while you start working out and exerting yourself in general is that your body tends to crave things that it needs in certain ways. Now, nutritionists will be able to help me out with this in more detail, but essentially you'll be able to start feeling for it. Things that you'll crave, it'll be because there's something in that food. It's not like you crave that food specifically, but something in that food that you are looking for. A lot of times when people are craving junk food, they need like salt, or they need some form of sugar. Their body wants that, needs it. So I tend to just go with that. I also just tend to spread out my protein throughout the day. The best thing that you can do if you're really looking to do well in the gym or bulk up or just have decent recovery times and everything else is eat some good carbs and some fruit in the morning. Have your water and stuff. Always be hydrated. But as soon as you get out of the gym or as soon as you finish working out, give yourself maybe a half hour or so, and then have some protein of some kind, whether you're using protein shakes or what have you. It doesn't really matter. I'm not doing that this time around necessarily, at least not that I think of now. But I'll tend to eat after that. I'll have a can of tuna on a sandwich. I tend to go to Subway and get a veggie sub, and then I go home and I mix up my tuna and I put it on the veggie sub because it's $5 for that sub, which I can't buy those ingredients: lettuce, tomato, red onion, green pepper, pickle, and the bread. I can't get that like for $5. So I just get that and then take it home and plop my tuna in there. Bam, Bob's your uncle. But just eat within that time period. Now, supplemental things or supplemental foods that I use tend to be I try and not tire myself of eating the same thing too much. So I'll go on like certain periods of time where I'm eating certain fruits that are good. Right now, that's pineapple. And then I will have nuts of some kind. Right now, that's pumpkin seeds. Pumpkin seeds are freaking awesome for you. Obviously, people are going to say unshelled, non-salted, fresh out of the pumpkin's arse is what you want. If you can get that, great. If you can only get roasted, sea-salted pumpkin seeds like I've got downstairs, not going to kill you. Just use less salt on the rest of your food for the day. Bob's your uncle. But nuts are a great source of protein, essential fats, stuff along those lines, and very useful to curb your hunger. Now, unfortunately, not everybody can eat seeds and nuts, either for allergy purposes or allergy reasons, or digestively, they can't digest seeds or nuts very well. And if that's the case, I suggest not eating them. You'll know if you can't digest them very well if you start eating them after a while. Believe me, it'll become quite obvious. Beyond that, it's really just drink water nonstop. You guys, if you watch my stream, you always see I have this with me all the time. I'm constantly getting water. I probably drink about 6 to 8 of these bad boys a day. So keep yourself hydrated, and just try and eat relatively healthy as your budget can afford, right? You know, I eat chicken and fish. I eat red meat. I'm not a whiner about red meat. I will eat red meat like 3 days a week and not care. But I don't tend to eat that much anyway. It's usually chicken and fish are my primary. Pork gets in there as well. And just make sure to have some decent vegetables. The basic guideline, and this is something that maybe your mothers have told you, or you've heard somewhere else, and it's good because it works, is eat as much colorful nonsense as you possibly can. The more colorful your plate is that you're eating, and that doesn't include putting mustard and ketchup and relish on it and calling it colorful, but the more colorful your plate is, the better. You know, get lots of veggies on there and go nuts. And that's really all I can tell you, because that's all I do. If you want more in-depth stuff, Google is your friend. But if you're looking at old pictures of me and you saw me all jacked up, there was no protein, there was no creatine, there was no supplements, there wasn't even a multivitamin. That was just eating decent food and going to the gym for 2 months. Okay? You just got to be relatively disciplined. And it's not even, after 3 weeks, it usually takes 3 weeks to form any sort of habit. You'll feel fine doing it, and you'll get over that hump. Now, this is going to be a long video, and I just realized this, but I'm trying to answer questions, and then after a while, it's probably just going to be me throughout these videos, maybe not being as long-winded. The next section to talk about real quick is what do I do in the gym necessarily. I'm not going to go into huge detail about it, but like I said before in other videos, it's very simple. Is think of your body as something that pulls and pushes. Okay? You have a set of muscles, and they counterbalance. The push muscles counterbalance the pull muscles, which makes perfect sense if you think about it. So whatever you do one day, there's an opposite and opposing muscle that balances that muscle out, okay? So a good example of this is, if you've ever been to the gym or seen, people in a gym, and they look like this, okay? Not this, but this. What that tends to mean is that they've done a lot of bench pressing and a lot of front delt work. And they haven't done a lot of back work, upper back work. They haven't done a lot of rear delt work. And what happens is their shoulders are being pulled forward and rounded. That's just an example of what I mean by muscular balance. Very important to keep that in mind. Even something as simple as abs. Now, not everybody loves to do abs as a workout, but your abs and your specifically mid-lower back, those are your counterbalances, as well as your hip flexors, which are those little muscles right in under your hips that tend to get tight if you're doing like leg lifts and things of that nature. Those are all balancers as well. So if you see people that seem to be a little tilted forward when they're standing, then that's an indication that they're out of balance. Their hip flexors are too tight. Their abs are more developed in their lower back, so on and so forth. So think of your body as a pusher and a puller, and then find the exercises that essentially do those two things and do them in some sort of balance and try and keep yourself that way. So And this is for the people that are just looking to be functional, right? Strength will come with time, one way or another, okay? Fitness and looking good will come with time. If you want to fast track it, go and buy some supplements and go and do, 4 sets of 12 and get a pump in your muscles and go nuts. But in general, most of the people that are like that are not going to be as functionally strong in any capacity as somebody else who just works to be functionally strong first and foremost. The rest comes later. It just happens. The thing you got to get out of your head is that this is a short-term thing. You got to build up this over time. So, with that being said, once again, push and pull. Pushing, you got bench press. Anything with your chest out in front. Delt presses, or delt raises. Things of that nature. Stuff up in front of your body. You do use your back, by the way, for pushing as well, but it's not as much as, say, your chest, things of that nature. Your triceps, things like that, also get used. But think of it like that. Then you've got pulls, so like the rowing machine. You're sitting down, you got your hands out, you're pulling back, you're squeezing the back of your back and forth. Your lat pull down machine, your pull-ups. Stuff of that nature. Pushing again, even with your legs, squats. Deadlifts is a whole body exercise of pushing and pulling almost simultaneously. It uses every muscle in your body. Lunges, leg extensions on machines, or reverse, curls, leg curls for the back of your legs. It's another pull again. It's a push out front, a pull in the back. Just that kind of thing. So whatever you do, whatever routine you choose, and I'm not going to be able to tell everybody what the best thing for them to do is in the gym or at home, is you just kind of have to look at what you want to accomplish, and then just keep yourself in balance, whatever you do. Very important. One other thing that I'm going to go over real quick before I wrap this up, because we're now 22 minutes in. This is an epic video. Thank God I'm not doing anything else but just posting this up. Is you want to be mindful, if you're doing heavy lifting, of how often and when you're doing it, okay? So for instance, if you're in the gym, you're doing deadlifts. First of all, please, for the love of God, make sure you know how to do a deadlift. If you want to know somebody that I pay very close attention to, and is somebody who is extraordinarily well educated in terms of body mechanics and everything else, you want to Google search Elliott Hulse, okay? Yo Elliott is one of his YouTube gig or whatever, but Elliott Hulse, Hulse, I believe. There's a whole video he has on rebuilding your deadlift and doing squats properly. He has videos explaining if you have a hard time doing proper deadlifting mechanics or squats, it can be tightness in your hip flexor, so on and so forth, and how to change that so that you can use proper form and rebuild yourself. That man is a great one to listen to. And if you were going to choose one guy on YouTube to learn how to be, functionally fit, that would be my choice for you to go and check out. But outside of that, be very careful when you choose to do it, because you only really want to do it once, maybe twice a week. It's a full body exercise, doing deadlifts and squats and heavy lifting like that. And it will drain you quickly. You don't go to the gym and do a bunch of proper deadlifts and then go immediately into a rest of a workout routine, or vice versa. One does not simply do this, and one should not do this, because you can overtrain your body and exhaust yourself. And then it takes you days to get back into it. You don't repair fast enough, things of that nature. So that's my only other advice for those of you who are doing gym stuff, is to be careful how often you try and do that. For those of you guys at home, I lied. I'm going to do a little bit more. This is going to be a very comprehensive video, and I'll probably go more in depth into this in later videos. But for those of you at home, it doesn't mean that you're alone in this. Things that I suggest: go get yourself a pull-up bar to put in a doorway. Maybe get some workout bands or just a couple of weights. Something you need, some sort of weight can help you out at home. You know, everything can be done with body weight, but having just even like 5, 10, 15-pound dumbbells to add to that can actually be a big difference. You're looking at variations of push-ups. You're looking at variations of squats and lunges. Yoga. You guys all know that I did DDP yoga for a few months, and only for a couple months, and I had huge results. I'm probably going to go back to DDP yoga eventually once I've gotten back to the gym, and I'll add it to my routine. But if you're just working out at home and you want to be flexible and stronger and feel better, and maybe if you have like a bad back or knees or anything like that, great thing to do. DDP yoga, way to go. For sure. Great program on that. Not overly expensive at all. But yeah, when you're at home, that's what you're looking to do. There's a million variations of push-ups. There's tons of leg work variation. Abs is very easy to do at home. Everybody knows how to do their ab work for the most part. And if you don't, Google is your friend. Yeah, there's really the only thing that can get a little bit more difficult to do work at home is stuff like your back. Which is where yoga can really come into handy. A lot of yoga holds, positions, and exercises get into your upper and mid and lower back, and so it's very important to have that, because remember, we're looking for balance. If you just do a bunch of push-ups and sit-ups and everything else, you're going to be like curling over like this because you're going to have nothing to keep you upright in your back. So yes, that's it. I'm cutting it off. We're almost at a half hour. This is ridiculous. I don't even know how many of you guys are going to watch all this. Whatever. I'm going to eat my banana. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to get my push on. I'm going to come back. I'm going to stream and do the usual. This has been your daily vlog for Quest of Fitness, ladies and gentlemen. If you like it, hit that like button. Keep me updated in the comment section on how you guys are doing on your journey. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and ask them. There's going to be some people in the comment section that will maybe help you. But again, take everybody's advice with a grain of salt. That's including mine. Go and do your research. If you want to hear new stuff out of me, maybe you want to hear about me talk about supplements a bit more, or what my ideas on that stuff are, maybe I can do that tomorrow. But for now, this has been NovaWar, coming to you from the fine locale of Canuckville, Canada. Please stay safe, have a good one, and as always, good luck. Have Batman.